All right, guys. This one out of Killeen, Texas, and it's from back in January, I think. But it was one of these controversial shootings because, from what I understand, the subject here was unarmed. So, of course, the family raises hell, as you would expect. But I want to see what what happens here. There we go. I hope the volume's up. Yep.
The body camera constantly records while it's turned on. The sound starts when the officer presses the record button.
Cool. Thanks. So quickly, what I've gathered here is the family called because this guy's having some kind of psychotic episode or mental health crisis, and I guess he had gone the day before to see his doc. Doc kicks him loose, go back home. Here we are.
Third 36, copy 2 LPs.
License plates are given to dispatch for identifying people who may be at the residence. Dispatch can check owners for prior involvements, safety concerns, warrants, and others.
First one's Texas.
It's not a bad practice to get into if you've got the time and you can focus your attention on two different things. And you should always check cars as you're approaching a house anyway, just because. And by check cars, I mean take a peek inside, make sure nobody's hiding.
Officer Contreras knocks on the door and identifies himself as a Killeen police officer.
Killeen police.
Officer Contreras is invited inside the home.
Is the door open? Hello. Okay.
Officer Contreras makes contact with several adults inside the residence. He attempts to find out what help is needed.
Now, initially, on walking in, you got people in the VIP room over here. You've got dude in the hallway here in this door, so you've got your attention divided. But nobody seems to be like super upset about anything, right? So somebody called and said this guy might be having a problem, yet when you walk in, nobody seems upset, and you don't know who you're supposed to be there to deal with. It's really kind of a difficult situation to be in.
Come on in. Come on in. Okay. Hold on, man. Let me. No. Come on. Okay. Come on.
Mr. Warren attempts to have Officer Contreras come further into the home.
So that's a red flag, right? Can't see his hand.
Walk back out. I don't work like this.
Ooh.
Officer Contreras attempts to de-escalate the situation by exiting the residence and waiting for other officers to arrive.
All right, so we can assume he's already called for backup at some point. I didn't hear it, but maybe there's another unit on the way. But dude's behavior right there, right? Like if I had hair, the hair on the back of my neck would have stood up because he's got one hand down behind him, kind of obscured. Come on in, and then takes this aggressive stance, man. Nah, dude, let's get outside where I got some room to operate, because I ain't dealing with you in this hallway. Ain't happening.
Give me the channel.
Give me the channel lets other officers know that there is a dangerous situation and allows Officer Contreras to give uninterrupted updates about the events.
Good. Oh.
Mr. Warren is heard screaming and growling through the closed door. The snow creates a potential hazard for the officers to slip and
Man, I
fall.
wish this dude would shut up. He's stealing my thunder.
Officer Contreras remains outside, continuing to try to de-escalate the situation. The beep sounds heard are from the officer's body camera to let them know it is still recording. Officer Contreras waits for other officers before re-establishing contact with Mr. Warren.
See, he found him a spot outside of the snow there so it didn't bust his ass.
Sirens can be heard.
And here comes
as
the
other
cavalry.
officers are coming to assist Officer Contreras.
I don't like that window, but, I mean, given the weather conditions, I guess maybe you got to stand where you got to stand, right? And they've got Allstate insurance, it appears. And a Ring doorbell. That Ring doorbell, what does that mean?
I had to come outside. There's about 6 of them in there. He came rushing at the door.
Officer Contreras provides
It means they can
updates
see what
to
you're doing
radio,
outside, right?
dispatch, and other officers.
He closed the door on me, so I'm just waiting for more units.
It's not a bad thing.
Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands.
The taser dot from Officer Contreras' conducted energy weapon, or taser, can be seen on Mr. Warren's chest.
All right, so the stance that this man's taking right now, the taser is a reasonable option. He's within reasonable distance. You don't know if there's something in that guy's hand, though. Is it an edged weapon? Is it a firearm? You don't know. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it quick because action's faster than reaction, right?
Want a taser point?
The taser is designed to temporarily override a person's central nervous system, causing a disruption to muscle control.
Let me see your hands.
Okay.
Get down on the ground.
Officer Contreras backs up to create space between him and Mr. Warren. He's giving him verbal commands to lay on the ground and show his hands.
Get down on the ground.
Mr. Warren is confrontational and can be heard growling and chanting while swinging his hands.
Get down on the ground. Get down on the ground. You're gonna get tased. You're gonna get tased.
Multiple people exit from the home. Mr. Warren advances towards Officer Contreras while reaching towards him.
One taste. One taste.
Officer Contreras deploys his taser to Mr. Warren's torso. The clicking sounds of the electrical current being delivered to Mr. Warren.
All right, so why a taser in this situation? One, his hands are empty. Two, you don't want to have to go hands-on with somebody that's already been reported to be mentally ill or having a mental crisis if you can help it. Because oftentimes somebody that's in some kind of psychosis or somebody that's mentally ill may as well be under the influence of some kind of drug, right? Sometimes they don't feel pain. Sometimes they don't care if you hit them. Sometimes they don't care about an asbaton. Ask me, I know. So a taser in this situation, I think, is the proper choice. Not that I matter, but it had the desired effect for the time being.
Sir Contreras notifies dispatch that he has used his taser.
I don't like
Lay down on
that.
your back.
And he's pulled the probes
Lay
out.
down on the back.
Officer Contreras continues to give commands to Mr. Warren to stay down.
Let him ride again.
Mr. Warren pulls out the taser prongs and continues advancing towards Officer Contreras. The difference in the clicking sounds indicates there is not an electrical connection to Mr. Warren.
All right, so right about now,
Continues to
you know
aggressively
you're
advance
about to
towards
be in a
Officer
shitty
Contreras while
situation.
swinging his arms.
Lay back. I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot.
Officer Contreras discards the taser after it becomes ineffective and draws his firearm, warning Mr. Warren that he will be shot.
Shoot you.
Mr. Warren then lunges towards Officer Contreras. Officer Contreras fires a total of 3 shots. Mr. Warren falls to the ground and continues reaching towards Officer Contreras. Officer Contreras continues to yell commands to Mr. Warren and pleads for him to lay down so he can help.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Shots fired. Stop. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Stay down.
Creating
Stay down.
space. You know he's got holes in him.
Stay down. Stay down.
So he gave the warning. He gave commands. Even after the shooting, he continues to give commands. The family, of course, is going to be another concern here in the very near future, I suspect. But so far we're checking all the boxes, right? So far we've done everything that we can do within reason that a reasonable officer would be expected to do.
Right here by my car. Turn around. Lay down on the ground. Let me help you. Lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground now. Lay down on the ground.
Why is it important to say things like, let me help you? It's the same reason we say things like stop resisting. Because other people in the area, even if they can't see what's going on, can recount as a witness what they heard you say. So if you are saying out loud, let me help you, then even if somebody didn't see that, when, you know, whoever is going to do the investigation goes house to house and starts taking witness statements, well, I heard somebody say, let me help you.
I will help you if you let me lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground. Lay down on the ground. Sir, please lay down on the ground. Seal. Please lay down on the ground, sir. Please lay down on the ground.
Good.
Please, we're going to help you.
I need you to lay down.
We're going to help you there. Put him in cuffs. Put him in cuffs.
The right choice. Get him secured and then render aid. Now I hope you got somebody watching the door because the family's coming out.
Hey, back up, back up, back up, back up.
Where'd you shoot him at, Ray?
I don't know. He just same charges, so I shot.
Okay. I need you to roll over this way. I need to find where you shot at.
Yeah. Had no choice, man. Damn it.
Where you shot at? I see drone.
Do we have a firearm somewhere?
No, he just charged me after I tased him. He pulled the taser prongs and still came running at me. He's by my house, by myself. Damn it, man. I told him to lay on the ground.
Both of your phones. Where you hurt him? Where you hurt him?
You hear that anger? Now he's mad. He's mad because, in this is just my opinion, he's mad because that man put him in that situation. I was by myself. He pulled the taser prongs out. He still rushed me. I told him to stop. I told him to get on the ground. I had no choice.
Hey, y'all stay back. Stay back. Stay back. Please stay back.
All right, I found one. You got the one chest wound? I want to say it's a chest wound. I only got one hole right now. I don't see anything else. I can't find it.
I hate that this is blurred out, but
Yeah.
I already got a chest seal on it. Let's get it in the truck. Anything next? Nothing else hurt?
Hey, sir, I'm going to pray for you, okay? All right? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. Amen.
At 1741 hours and 0 seconds, the officer's body camera begins. At 1742 hours and 26 seconds, Officer Contreras knocks and announces his presence. At 1742 hours and 51 seconds, Officer Contreras...
let's talk about him praying real quick. What do you think that a defense attorney will do with that? Or not necessarily a defense attorney. Let's say the attorney that the family hires in the wrongful death lawsuit. What do you think he's going to do with that? And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just asking a question. What do you think that attorney is going to do with that little bit of video right there? Is he going to ask the officer, who were you praying for? Were you praying for him or praying for yourself? Were you praying for yourself? Because you said, in the Lord's Prayer, deliver us from evil. Are you the evil that somebody needs to be delivered from? So, and this is just an afterthought, and there in no way is this a slight on the officer at all for doing that. I think that the gesture in and of itself was I mean, Jesus Christ, man. And he's praying for the dude. But in hindsight, how could that be used against the officer when it comes to the civil action that's absolutely going to happen?
Walks outside to de-escalate the situation. At 17:44 hours and 35 seconds, Mr. Warren opens the front door. At 17:44 hours and 51 seconds, Mr. Warren is struck by the taser prongs. At 17:45 hours and 6 seconds, Officer Contreras fires 3 shots. At 17:45 hours and 48 seconds, a second officer arrives.
So roughly 15 seconds between the time that the taser prongs made contact, the time that the officer shot this guy. It's a blink of an eye, right? So let's talk about this guy being unarmed. I've seen people beaten to death. Have you? Probably. So this guy's mental state, as it is perceived by the responding officer, would indicate that he's having some issues. The fact that even after he rode that lightning for 5 seconds, he pulled those taser probes out of his chest, got back up, and rushed the officer. What's going through his mind? What's going through your mind if you're standing there in his boots? What's going through your mind? Holy shit, this dude just rode 5 seconds of hell, pulled the prongs out, probably while it's cycling, and then lunged at me. Now, once you realize that less lethal option that you just deployed was completely useless and is no longer useful because you've got no time to change cartridges and a drive stun ain't going to do shit, you transition, right? I mean, this all boils down to what is reasonable action. Now, the argument's going to be made, I think, that well, he was unarmed. The call was about a person in a mental crisis. He had been to a mental health professional the day before, from what I understand. So, what happened? Well, if we're going to send social workers to these kind of things, what is a social worker going to do in this situation? If there were 5 or 6 people in the house, why did they let this guy outside? I mean, at some point, the responsibility's got to fall back on somebody other than law enforcement. Because we keep getting called to these things, and yeah, I mean, you get X amount of training, and you can always have more training, but you get X amount of training in dealing with people suffering mental health crises, but we're not psychiatrists or psychologists. You got to do what you got to do. And if the person that you're dealing with is a threat to other people or a threat to you, why didn't the doctor keep him hospitalized? Why didn't the family if they've got a Baker Act there, some kind of involuntary commitment? There's a million questions that can be asked of this.
On scene. At 17:46 hours and 14 seconds, Mr. Warren is placed into handcuffs. At 17:46 hours and 33 seconds, a third officer arrives on scene. At 17:46 hours and 56 seconds, EMS arrives on scene. At 17:47 hours and 13 seconds, EMS begins treating Mr. Warren. At 17:48 hours and 37 seconds, Mr. Warren is placed on the stretcher and taken to the ambulance.
Now, is that it, kids? So, at the end of the day, the officer did what he had to do to protect the community and protect himself, in my opinion. I think that he did everything that he could to de-escalate a situation, but like we've said 1,000 times before, de-escalation is a two-way street. The person that you're dealing with has to be of a mindset that they're willing to de-escalate, that they're willing to listen to reason, that they're willing to follow commands. And that's not what you had here by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that this was an unfortunate situation that this officer was placed in, and he did everything he could do in his power to prevent what happened. But the end result is the end result. And I hope that, you know, the family can find some peace, and I hope that this officer can find some peace, because it certainly affected him right on the spot. So there we are, guys. Drop me some comments down below and let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, please. And if you can't be good at it. We'll see you next time. Be safe.